In the conference room, there was a long dead silence. For a full 30 seconds, no one spoke, including Nick Fury. All the high-level staff of S.H.I.E.L.D. were shocked by the sudden news. Come on, they just want Scarlet Witch. As for her little man, she is just an ordinary high school student. Well, he is very smart, he is Scarlet Witch's man, and the little Spider-Man who is only awakening is also his friend, but so what, can this change his identity? Obviously, no, but what is going on now? A big holiday gift, buy one get one free. Wow, wow, wow. 30 seconds later, Nick Fury clapped suddenly and exaggerated his expression. He blinked at Black Widow and Phil Coulson, and smiled. Gentlemen and ladies, it seems that we all underestimated that little guy. Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, the little Spider-Man, and this guy who was born out of nowhere, Midtown High School is really a crouching tiger, hidden dragon. Misses and gentlemen, don't you find it interesting? Nick Fury, this big shot from the Age of War, although he has no special ability, he is a great man in S.H.I.E.L.D. Mortal body, God ambition. After the shock, he quickly recovered his calmness. He had seen big scenes. Over the past few decades, he had encountered incredible things. There are too many to mention. A high school student exploded. Compared with those things, it was nothing at all. Agent Normanova, what did that little guy say? Nick Fury is like an old fox, smiling. Morse Manor, the owner is dead, the owner's 4 friends are dead, and the owner's 4 bodyguards are also dead. This is a felony. He will spend the rest of his life. I'm going to stay in jail. Natasha Romanoff said, he denied it. How does he deny it? Our people, we are with him right now. He said that they were all killed by Toad and Doganya. He walked there by accident. He heard the call for help and immediately shot. Nick Fury's eyes widened. I remember where he lives, at least 30 miles from Morse Manor, right? Yes. Ha ha ha, that's really interesting. It was almost 12 o'clock. He didn't sleep at home, but he took a walk for 30 miles and accidentally scattered to Morse Manor. Interesting, interesting. Natasha Romanoff was also speechless, saying, before our people arrived at the scene, he had wiped off his fingerprints and replaced them with Toad and big steel teeth. There were no loopholes. I have to say that the little guy is a crime. Genius. By the way, he also asked Bill to bring us a word. What are you talking about? You're welcome. Forehead. Nick Fury's eyes widened. He paused for a while, and said, he means, even if he doesn't do that, we will help him cover up, and if he did it in advance, it is equivalent to helping us, so we should thank you. He. Natasha Romanoff chuckled lightly, it should be that. Nick Fury suddenly applauded and burst into laughter. This arrogant little villain is very interesting. I really like him more and more, but... Huh. Nick Fury's face suddenly turned, as if Chuan Shu's face changed. Suddenly, he was extremely cold, and his whole body released awe-inspiring evil spirits, and said coldly, in him, I can't see the slightest respect for the law. If this kind of person is placed in the society, it will be a time bomb, which will have a great impact on the stability of the society. Agent Normanova, you immediately go to Morse Manor, meet that little bastard, and let him join S.H.I.E.L.D. In an hour, I want a complete report. If he refuses, send him to jail. This kind of unstable factor must be controlled by our S.H.I.E.L.D. Natasha Romanoff nodded. The S.H.I.E.L.D. high-level meeting ended. Nick Fury remained in the office. About an hour later, Natasha Romanoff returned to headquarters. Her person and report appeared in front of Nick Fury at the same time. Nick Fury looked through the report and asked, how is it? What did that little bastard say? He agreed. There was no change in Nick Fury's expression, and the fool would refuse, which he expected. But he has one condition, Natasha Romanoff added. Nick Fury raised his head and said with a sneer, he killed at least 5 people. We S.H.I.E.L.D. helped him wipe his fart. This saved him from jail and let him join the most mysterious institution in our country. How dare he even make a request? Natasha Romanoff shrugged and said, his condition is that he can join S.H.I.E.L.D., but he must have the right to act independently, and he cannot harass Scarlet Witch for the time being. Nick Fury thought for 2 seconds, and said, how many levels does New York need to act independently? Level 5. If I remember correctly, if an ordinary person joins S.H.I.E.L.D., it will take at least 15 years to go from level 1 to level 5, right? Yes. Haha. This little bastard is really arrogant. Want to have the right to act independently? Still want Scarlet Witch out of the way. Yes, it depends on whether he has this ability. Nick Fury sneered. Agent Normanova, 3 days later, send someone to pick up the little bastard and go through the induction procedures for him. If he is a trash, then he has no right to ask for anything. Definitely, if he has ability, would I meet all the requirements? Natasha Romanoff nodded. The next day, 8 o'clock in the morning. Midtown High School. At the school gate, students talked a lot. Hey, have you heard that there was an earthquake in Brooklyn yesterday? Damn. How could it be an earthquake? Why is it not an earthquake? Didn't you read this morning's New York Times? It has been published in the newspaper. Come on, kid. Can you use your brain to believe the government? I heard that it was not an earthquake at all, but a Spider-Man. There was a group of people selling arms in Brooklyn, and the Spider-Man took action and destroyed the group's base. God. It's Spider-Man again. Peter Parker and little Fatty Yawen also came to the school gate with their school bags on their backs. Hearing everyone talking, Peter Parker's eyebrows were smiling, but his voice was almost no problem. Roar. Yes, it was Spider-Man who did it. I am Spider-Man. Little Fatty Yawen mumbled. Spider-Man? Hey, I don't know who he is. It would be great if I had the ability of Spider-Man. Peter, what do you think? Peter Parker pretended to be stupid. I don't know. Hey, didn't you just work in Brooklyn yesterday and didn't hear anything? No, that's a shame. The little fat man said regretfully. Not far away. Lee Buffon and Wanda appeared side by side. If in the past, in order to avoid suspicion, whether it was school or after school, Wanda would not be so exhausted with Lee Buffon. After all, she had to avoid suspicion, but now she can't take care of it anymore. She would definitely not agree to that bastard's disgusting request, but there was no other way but to use super ability. Once super ability is used, it will definitely be locked by Magneto. In addition to Magneto, there is also the government. This is New York. There are too many mutants and secret agents, which means that this peaceful life is gone forever. Thinking of this, Wanda couldn't help but feel heartache. She just wants to seize every minute and every second and enjoy this last little happiness. Wanda, what's wrong with you? Lee Buffon asked. Oh, no, nothing. Really nothing. Wanda nodded, then looked at Lee Buffon deeply, and said tenderly, Unfan, my man, I have something to hide from you. You may be surprised, but please believe, I love you 3,000 times. She kind of wants a showdown. I know. Lee Buffon blinked at Wanda and said, Unfortunately, I also have something to hide from you, so we are even. Moreover, I don't want to tell you those things for the time being, so please don't tell me either. Wait when you want to say it, it's never too late to say it, never force yourself. Wanda's smart eyes were a little moist. This is my man. You little villain, can you hide anything from me? You say this just to make me feel better. Lee Buffon took out the wet tissue, handed it to Wanda, and said, Please, this is the school. Pay attention to the image and don't be seen by others, Teacher Wanda. Wanda burst into laughter, and suddenly raised her face. Student Bruce Lee, this is your attitude when talking to your teacher. No, next time, or it depends on how I punish you. Okay, Teacher Wanda. Lee Buffon lowered his head at Wanda and said in a very low voice, Tonight, I will punish you like yesterday. Wanda's face blushed, and Lee Buffon gave Lee Buffon a strange look. Really? Do you dare to say anything without looking at the occasion? But it was the first time, when I recalled last night, I was really shy, you little villain, where are so many tricks? Ms. Wanda, goodbye. Lee Buffon had a smirk and separated from Wanda, and at the school gate, countless boys stopped, indulged in Wanda's charming smile, and at the same time cast extremely enviable gazes at Lee Buffon. If a smile can kill people, it must be Wanda's smile. Old. Oh my God. Little Fatty Yawen was stunned, and excitedly hugged Peter Parker's arm, and said in shock, Peter, did you see? Lee, when did he have such a good relationship with my goddess? Did you see Mrs. Wanda's smile? Me, Roar can't breathe it, I'm going to die. Peter Parker's mouth twitched, kicked the little fat man, and vomited, Idiot, then go to hell. If you don't know the relationship between Wanda and Lee Buffon, he might be like little Fatty, but what Peter Parker feels now is Lee Buffon's deep malice towards him as a single dog. He looked at Lee Buffon's gaze, and suddenly began to complain. Damn it. You are too much, even the goddess is soaked in your hands, and you are still showing affection. Are you going to be struck by lightning, don't you know? If it's not for the sake of you being my brother, let's see if I can help you. It's time to fix that bastard Morse. The small group of Lee Buffon, Little Spider-Man and Little Fatty Yawen reunited. Little Fatty hugged Lee Buffon's thigh and almost didn't kneel down for him. He strongly asked Lee Buffon to teach the secrets of picking up girls, which made Lee Buffon laugh and cry. Peter Parker put his arms around Lee Buffon's shoulders, and Tsunere said, Brother, you can't deal with that bastard Morse, but I have a way. Then This joke can't help blinking at Lee Buffon, strongly suggesting that you should ask me how to do it. Lee Buffon was speechless. You are so funny. Morse. Little fatty Yavin said suddenly, Peter, don't you know? There were two big news last night. One was the Brooklyn explosion, and the other was the Morse Manor murder. The bastard is dead. Morse. His background is not low. The family put him in Midtown High School, which is used to accumulate seniority and pave the way for politics in the future. That guy didn't want to teach at all. He had a bad reputation at Midtown High School, and many people avoided it. Among the students, it was even a word-of-mouth bastard who did a lot of disgusting things. His death was a delightful one. What? Hearing Yavin's words, Peter Parker's entire expression froze, as if he had eaten a fly. Halfway through the meal, he realized that he was stuck in his throat. Swallow it and feel sick, but he wants to vomit but can't vomit it out. Lee Buffon suppressed his smile and patted Peter Parker on the shoulder. Old iron, it seems I don't need your help anymore. Damn it. How could that guy die? Peter Parker was annoyed, cursed annoyed, and immediately thought of something, staring at Lee Buffon, and whispered, Lee, you wouldn't do this, right? How is it possible? That's murder, right? Peter Parker nodded and immediately ruled out Lee Buffon's suspicion. Don't say he didn't have the guts. Even if he had the guts, he didn't have the ability. Now he, unlike Lee Buffon, already knows many unknown truths in this world. This good friend will still rely on him to guard him in the future. Peter Parker gave Lee Buffon a confident look, and said in secret, my friend, you will still be a happy boy with peace of mind in the future, and everything is mine. By the time of the morning, Morse's tragic death had spread throughout Midtown High School. Shield's explanation was vendetta. Morse played with a woman's feelings. The woman was not convinced and asked the killer to kill Morse. The reason is made up, but the story is true. Morse's death did not cause any waves in Midtown High School. No one felt sorry for him, and even many people felt happy, showing how unpopular that bastard was at Midtown High School. Wanda was ready to tear his face, and was overjoyed when he heard the news suddenly. God. Her peaceful life will continue, no matter who killed Morse, she prayed for that person. 3 days later, it was Monday again. Wanda went to school very early and reminded Lee Buffon again and again before leaving that he must not miss school. Lee Buffon made a guarantee, but unexpectedly, the accident happened. Before leaving the house, a mysterious empty number entered his mobile phone. The caller, S.H.I.E.L.D. 8th level agent Phil Coulson, who said that the person from S.H.I.E.L.D. was already downstairs and wanted to pick him up to the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters. Lee Buffon decisively refused. Joke. Yesterday, he received the system prompt that the second ultimate task was completed, the level was upgraded, and the red envelope real-world drawing was upgraded from B to A, that is to say, he has obtained the agent certification of S.H.I.E.L.D., this time let himself pass. The goal should be to consider one's own strength, and then rank oneself. He didn't bother to care about it. Phil Coulson looked dumbfounded and said, Lee, why did you refuse? He was a little angry, and said, please remember, you are now an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and your information has been entered into the archives department of S.H.I.E.L.D. Also, no one can refuse S.H.I.E.L.D. You must give me a reasonable explanation. Lee Buffon said, I want to go to school, Phil Coulson. Walter F***. K. Lee Buffon is still a high school student, and today is Monday again, so. This is really a reasonable explanation. At this moment, Phil Coulson's mood was like a dog. Roar took a deep breath, held back his anger, and calmed himself down. Lee, I will help you settle the school's affairs. It's very simple. Just a phone call will do. You won't have any trouble or anyone doubts. That won't work. Lee Buffon curled his lips and refused decisively. You know, I am a 5 good student with comprehensive development in morality, intelligence, physical education, and art. I will never miss class. Phil Coulson. Shente mode, intellectual, physical, art and labor in an all-round development. Tired. Phil Coulson's mood is broken. Mr. Phil Coulson, if nothing else, then I hang up and I will be late for school. Lee Buffon fastened his shoelaces and prepared to go out, just at this moment. Mind. The system voice suddenly appeared. Beep, congratulations to the host, you have reached the level of awareness upgrade, from A to S, you only need to complete one ultimate task. Become an official S.H.I.E.L.D. 10th level agent. Lee Buffon's mouth twitched, this ultimate mission. One word. Difficult. The agent level of S.H.I.E.L.D. is set by the commander Maria Hill. Levels 1 to 3 are the dragon set. You can only get a basic understanding of the operation and management of S.H.I.E.L.D. Levels 4 to 6 are the middle level backbone, and level 7 is the watershed. Level 7 or lower can only access general secrets, and only level 7 or higher can understand big news that ordinary people cannot access. Levels 8 and 9 are basically veterans, such as Phil Coulson and Maria Hill. 10th level. This thing cannot be achieved by strength alone, but also fate. Currently Lee Buffon knows, there are only two people. One is the current director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Nick Fury, and the other is Black Widow Natasha Romanoff. If the captain is unfrozen, he will also be awarded the title of 10th level agent, but it is only honorary certification. It is impossible to have access to the military's top secrets, let alone Nick Fury's monstrous rights. All kinds of thoughts flashed through Lee Buffon's mind like lightning, and he chuckled softly. Agent Phil Coulson, no kidding, I will report to S.H.I.E.L.D. immediately and look forward to seeing you. Phil Coulson. Joke. Phil Coulson nearly dropped the phone. Today is a big day for him, because his only idol is going to visit S.H.I.E.L.D. He even prepared a collection of the full set of the captain's card, just waiting for the captain to sign it. As a result, the good mood of the day is gone. You hateful little bastard. Phil Coulson hung up the phone irritably. I'll show you good looks later. 2 hours later, Manhattan, S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters. I don't know if Lee Buffon made the joke too much, or for other reasons. Originally it only took half an hour, but it took him a full 2 hours to reach the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters. The agent who came to take charge of the response was basically going around in circles. Boring. Lee Buffon's patience is very good, he is not angry, but laughed angrily by S.H.I.E.L.D.'s childish approach. After entering S.H.I.E.L.D., Lee Buffon was taken by a level 4 agent to the secret underground base, and when he reached the 6th underground level, the level 4 agent returned the same way. This is the end of the level 4 agent's authority, and he has no right to enter the 7th level. The elevator doors opened. Wow. Nick Fury opened his hands and laughed. Come and see, our little hero, the future of S.H.I.E.L.D. is finally here. This old guy, just like in the movie, has a very bad personality. Lee Buffon twitched the corners of his mouth. On the 7th floor underground, the first thing that caught his eye was the neatly standing agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., with a total of 30 people, with the lowest level being level 5. These people can be said to be the backbone of S.H.I.E.L.D. and responsible for the operation of S.H.I.E.L.D. Phil Coulson, Black Widow Natasha Romanoff, these two were also there. Seeing Lee Buffon, Phil Coulson's eyes flashed unpleasantly. Natasha Romanoff was expressionless, as if he didn't know Lee Buffon at all. What happened in the subway not long ago had never happened. Nick Fury's obvious sarcasm caused a commotion. 30 agents standing neatly, could not help but laugh out loud, followed closely, talking in a low voice. Huh? S.H.I.E.L.D.'s future is this yellow boy? Is he worthy? You two idiots, Mr. Director is telling the irony, can't you tell me this? Ha ha ha. This yellow-skinned kid is not very capable, but has a very big temper. I heard that Agent Phil Coulson asked him to come to S.H.I.E.L.D. to report today, but the kid actually refused. Agent Phil Coulson almost didn't put his cell phone on. Fell. Damn. What does he dare to refuse Agent Phil Coulson? Hey, brothers, don't forget what our mission is. We will use our true skills later and give a severe lesson to this ignorant boy. Yes, give me a lesson. That's definitely. Let this kid know how good we are later. Humph, we S.H.I.E.L.D., not all cats and dogs can come in. It should be noted that in S.H.I.E.L.D., the level and position of an agent are not completely symmetrical. Like Phil Coulson, although only an 8th level agent, this person is one of the veterans of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Nick Fury's most trusted henchmen. S.H.I.E.L.D. has the greatest power and can be said to be second only to Nick Fury. Whether it's a level agent with him, or even a level 9, you have to follow his instructions. He is upright and has a reputation in S.H.I.E.L.D. Lee Buffon dared to refuse Phil Coulson. This naturally caused dissatisfaction with other agents. The reason why they stood here was to investigate Lee Buffon. Lee Buffon completely ignored those people's comments. Okay. Nick Fury rubbed his hands, like an old fox, and chuckled softly. You, the troublemaker, finally came. I have been waiting for you for a long time. First of all, I am very happy to meet you and welcome you to join S.H.I.E.L.D. Lee Buffon said, I am also very happy to meet you, Director Fury. The two shook hands. Very mature. Nick Fury smiled. Okay, I'm very busy. The whole S.H.I.E.L.D. is very busy, so let's not talk nonsense. Let's go directly to the topic. Little guy, your files have entered the S.H.I.E.L.D. archives. Since yesterday at the beginning, you are the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, but there is still a small problem. That is, we are not very clear about your ability and cannot rate you, so you need to participate in the agent assessment. Lee Buffon said, no problem. Nick Fury laughed and said, "Little guy, don't blame me for not reminding you. These guys standing in front of you are not at all nasty. At least they are level 5, there are 2 levels 7, and there is even 1 level 8. A sly flash flashed in Li Buffon's eyes, and he chuckled lightly. Does that mean that if I pass the examination of the 8th level agent, I can be said as the 8th level? Nick Fury was taken aback. Phil Coulson's face sank, and he said sternly, "What nonsense. Do you know what the 8th level agent represents?" Li Buffon ignored Phil Coulson and stared at Nick Fury. Nick Fury clapped his hands and said happily, Okay, I didn't expect you, a little guy, to have this kind of ambitious ambition. As long as you pass the 8th agent test, your agent level is 8th. As the head of S.H.I.E.L.D., I assure you, it's done." What Li Buffon wanted was this certification. With Nick Fury's words, his goal was achieved. Definitely, an old fox like Nick Fury who has practiced for decades, although he promised Li Buffon, how could he not have a back move? Even if he really sets Li Buffon's level to 8th, he will never give him the right to 8th. This old guy is dark. Li Buffon knows this well, but he doesn't care. According to the task information given to him by the system, he only needs to be certified as a 10th level agent by S.H.I.E.L.D. Unimportant. Even, as long as he becomes a level 10 agent, he immediately defected from S.H.I.E.L.D., no problem. When the conditions are set, the assessment will begin. Li Buffon and the agents began to prepare. Natasha Romanoff acted as the referee, Nick Fury and Phil Coulson stepped aside, and the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, who acted as the assessment teachers, were completely irritated by Li Buffon's arrogance. F*K. That damn yellow-skinned monkey, what does he think S.H.I.E.L.D. is? I want him to know what the real agent is, level 8 agent. The yellow-skinned kid who doesn't know the heights of the sky, he doesn't deserve to join S.H.I.E.L.D. All his skills at the bottom of the box are taken out, let him fail the assessment and get out of S.H.I.E.L.D. Bill. What do you need to say? I'll let him know how great it is later. Nick Fury and Phil Coulson stood not far away watching the show. Phil Coulson said, "Director Fury, are you serious?" Nick Fury said, "Definitely." Phil Coulson said anxiously, "How can this be? That's an 8th level agent." Nick Fury pointed at the agent group and said, a little speechless, "Please, Agent Phil Coulson, look at that big guy, he was discovered by you. Do you really think that little bastard can win the big guy?" Almost all of the 30 agents have started warm-up preparations, with only one exception. The guy wore a blue peaked cap and black casual clothes. He was very burly, at least 2 meters tall, and probably weighed 200 kilograms. He was sitting quietly in the corner with his head down, like a hill. Big guy, a veritable metaphor. He was very quiet, like a quiet beast. The dangerous breath released from his whole body gave people a strong pressure not to come near. Even S.H.I.E.L.D.'s agent colleagues had subconsciously pulled away from him. Phil Coulson shook his head and said, "How could that little bastard be Odin's opponent? If he angered Odin, I can guarantee that Odin will tear his small body in half." Nick Fury smiled and said, "So, what are you still worried about? That little bastard is definitely not Odin's opponent, but he is cunning. What if he wins Odin with any tricks? Then he is an 8th level S.H.I.E.L.D. agent." Without waiting for Phil Coulson to speak, Nick Fury squinted his eyes slightly and asked, "Agent Phil Coulson, I promised to give him the treatment of an 8th level agent, but there is no guarantee to give him the right to an 8th level agent, right?" "Ah?" Phil Coulson was taken aback, and then he shook his head helplessly, he was really worried. "You are such an old fox." He looked at Li Buffon sympathetically, and secretly said, "Little bastard, no matter how rebellious you used to be, as long as you join S.H.I.E.L.D., it is impossible to escape the palm of this old fox." The agent exam started soon, and it was divided into 3 categories: physical fitness, shooting, and close combat. Li Buffon had absolutely no problems with physical fitness. Close combat was his favorite. Only shooting could not help. Li Buffon had thought about it a long time ago, whether it is physical fitness or shooting, it is all nonsense. Fighting. Only close combat is fundamental, otherwise no matter how good your physical fitness is, no matter how good your marksmanship is, it will be useless. To put it simply, you just need to win, and a hard fist is the last word. The plan was perfect, but the accident still happened. Just before the assessment was about to begin, Li Buffon's mind was shocked, and the real map resurfaced and a red dot appeared at the same time. Li Buffon is overjoyed, the first A-level red envelope is here. He likes this accident. After the red envelope level was upgraded from B to A, the coverage of the real map expanded from a radius of 1,000 meters to 5,000 meters. At the same time, the frequency of red envelopes increased, and the extraction time was still limited. Once exceeded, the red envelope will disappear. Naturally, Li Bufan would not miss the first A-level red envelope, but he did not lock the position of the red envelope for the first time, because he didn't need it at all. Natasha Romanoff's 2 red lips were shining in gold, and he wrote 5 song fonts. Kiss. I have a red envelope. Time limit, 10 seconds. Pete. Li Bufan has been unable to complain. He is absolutely sure that you are a rogue system. Natasha Romanoff saw Li Bufan staring at him with scorching eyes, and his heart was like a little deer, and he secretly said, "This little villain, what does he want to do?" Agent Normanova, I have a question. Li Bufan suddenly spoke. Natasha Romanoff said, "What's the problem?" Yes. Just when Natasha Romanoff thought Li Bufan was really problematic, he didn't expect that it was just Li Bufan diverting his attention. In full view, Li Bufan kissed his examiner before the examination started. It's actually a bit sweet? The corner of Li Bufan's mouth twitched, but now was not the time to recall the taste of Natasha Romanoff's red lips. The red envelope opens. Beep. Congratulations to the host for getting Xiao Li flying darts. Item. Li flying darts cheats quality. A level medium, classified, medium, high. Attribute. Skills world. Little Li flying darts. Feature. Xiao Li flying darts, without any false hair. You will get the mental power, vision, and skills corresponding to Xiao Li's flying darts, which can be applied to bows and arrows, firearms, hits 100 shots, and pierces the yang with 100 steps. Wipe. This is really going to sleep when a pillow fell from the sky. Hawkeye Barden's precise shooting is nothing more than that, but with such a buggy ability, this is actually an A level, and it's not even an advanced one. Li Bufan was embarrassed by Xiao Li flying darts, and at the same time, with a thought, he immediately entered the red envelope space. 3 seconds later, the world in front of him had undergone earth-shaking changes. This item is not only the skill of Li Bufan's flying darts, but also changed his vision and mental power. When he concentrates, locks on the target, the bullseye is 50 meters away, a very small point, but in Li Bufan's eyes, it is big. Such as wheels. A-level red envelopes are as horrible. Ding. When Li Bufan was still immersed in the sudden improvement of his own strength, his mind was shocked again, and a red dot appeared on the real map. Only then did he draw the first A-level red envelope, and the second A-level red envelope came again. This time, the red envelope fell on the big guy who bowed his head and sat quietly in the corner. Seeing the content of the red envelope, Li Bufan's mouth twitched. Ordinary red envelopes, task red envelopes, are you even choosing red envelopes now? System, you really know how to play. F*K. What did you do? Damn it. I am going to kill you. Don't let Li Bufan think too much, the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. have all exploded. Black Widow Natasha Romanoff, S.H.I.E.L.D. 10th level agent, in their eyes, it is a godlike existence, and would never stay in S.H.I.E.L.D. at all. For many of them, it used to be just a legend. This is the first time I saw a real person today. The charming amorous feelings on her are something that 90% of men in this world can't resist. These agents, whether single or married, Natasha Romanoff is the perfect goddess in their hearts. It is a great honor for them to say a word to Natasha Romanoff, but now this kid is in full view. Attacked Natasha Romanoff. It was also successful. Moment. The agents were all out of anger, one by one, like bulls in heat, they would swarm in the next moment and tear Li Bufan to pieces. Damn it. Phil Coulson scolded, this bastard. Nick Fury looked at Li Bufan speechlessly. He was really an unruly wild horse. Even if you were attracted by Natasha Romanoff, you shouldn't do it, right? The time is wrong, and the occasion is wrong. But he has no plans to end, and Natasha Romanoff. When others were filled with righteous indignation, Natasha Romanoff's brain was stunned, still reminiscing about the beauty of talents, and when he recovered, the agents were already fried. Shut up all. Natasha Romanoff let the agents shut up with a cold yell, followed by an annoyed look at Li Bufan, and shouted, "You little bastard, I think you need to give me a reasonable explanation." Li Bufan said, Can't help it. Can't help but you big head. Even if you can't help it, you won't wait for the end of the assessment, will it only be the time for the two of us?" Natasha Romanoff rolled her eyes frantically, almost not getting angry with Li Bufan, and said with a stern face, "Just this time, let's not take it as an example. Otherwise I will make you pay a heavy price, you know? Knowledge. Okay. The assessment begins. The agents looked at each other and looked at their goddess unbelievably. Damn it. Just this time, not as an example. This is the attitude of the goddess. How can this be? There used to be a guy who didn't know the heights of the sky, and he wanted to do something to Natasha Romanoff because of his own special ability. Natasha Romanoff broke the guy's legs directly. If it weren't for the chief to intercede for that guy, Natasha Romanoff would definitely be connected. That guy also interrupted his third leg. Natasha Romanoff didn't mean to pursue it at all. Even if they were upset, they could only do so. The physical fitness assessment begins 5,000 meters long run. The purpose of this assessment, simple and crude, is to assess the durability of Lee Buffon's physical fitness. Not all of the 30 agents participated. After the competition, there were 7 agents at level 5, 2 agents at level 6, and 1 agent at level 7. Lee Buffon's performance will be compared with these 10 people. There are all 5 level, 6 level, and 7 level agents, and there is a complete comparison. The agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. started first and was completed soon. Most of the results are about 15 minutes, the best 2. The 6th level agent Tom Allen 10 minutes and 27 seconds, the 7th level agent Phil Andrew broke 10 in only 9 minutes and 11 seconds. Everyone happily roar. This result is already very scary. You must know that the shortest time for the world's 5-kilometer race record is only 12 minutes and 37 seconds. If Phil Andrew participates in the Olympics, he will definitely be an undoubted champion. The agents looked at Lee Buffon playfully. A smug flashed in Phil Andrew's eyes. Lee Buffon appeared on the stage. The guy was only a 7th level agent. He definitely wanted to beat him, but there was no need to fully reveal his strength. So, Lee Buffon, who still had reservations, finished the race in 5 minutes and 27 seconds. Damn it. This damn kid, something. 5 minutes and 27 seconds. Is he still a human? This should definitely not be the speed of a normal person. The agents were shocked. Phil Andrews' face was blue, and he gritted his teeth and secretly said, "Damn boy. Let you win first, and in the next shooting, you must know what a real master is." The faces of Nick Fury, Natasha Romanoff, Phil Coulson and others are as usual. Although Toad and Doganya are small characters in Mutant, they are much stronger than ordinary people. The ability to kill them has indirectly proved Lee Buffon's ability. Not bad. Nick Fury nodded. Go to the next item. The shooting assessment begins. As with the physical fitness assessment, 10 agents with the best marksmanship were selected out of the 30 agents. Among them, the 5th, 6th, and 7th levels are available, and then the pistol is fired at 50 meters, and the effective range of the pistol is 35 meters. Shooting at a target of 50 meters is already an extreme shooting, and the effective range of the bullet will deviate. Phil Andrew is still one of the 10. Soon, the agents completed the shooting. For each shot, the computer intelligently reported the number. After 10 shots were shot, the computer would calculate the final result. Armand 77th ring, Elton 72nd ring, Duncan 84th ring, Phil Andrew 100th ring. Of the 10 agents, Phil Andrew is the only one who has no bullets and hits the heart. The rest has no more than 90 rings, and the closest to Phil Andrew is only 84 rings. Absolutely crushed. Wow. There was another shock. Roar, shooting at the limit of 50 meters, each shot was centered and had 100 rings. Juan. That kid's marksmanship can't be better than Phil. In the worst case, that kid hits 100 rings, then a tie can be possible. But does that kid have this ability? How can it be? Phil Andrew also felt that he was bound to win. He looked at Lee Buffon, sneered, and said, "Boy, learn a little bit, you are not far away." At this time, Hawkeye Barden, the real master shooting master, completed the task, returned to S.H.I.E.L.D., and came to the agent assessment site. Agent Barden. How is the mission? Finished. Has the assessment been completed? Almost. Andrew shot 50 meters, all 10 shots hit the hearts. Hawkeye came to Nick Fury and Phil Coulson, exchanged a few words with Phil Coulson, then nodded, and said, "Andrew's shooting is unique, and other agents are not as good as him. This kind of result is unexpected." Middle. Phil Coulson smiled and said, "That kid is dead this time." Range. Lee Buffon was already in place. Natasha Romanoff gave an order. He raised the muzzle decisively and shot 10 shots quickly. The total time was less than 3 seconds. When he finished shooting 10 bullets, the computer reported the count. 5. The cold mechatronics sound. 10 ring, 0 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 ring, a total of 10 rings. Next to Lee Buffon, Natasha Romanoff's face changed dramatically. Damn it. Hawkeye Barden's face also changed drastically, so excited that there were several bulges on his face. He widened his eyes and locked Lee Buffon as if he saw a ghost. The agents were all stunned. The first shot came with 10 rings, but all the next 9 shots missed the target. What kind of magical operation is this? Mongolian. That's right, his first shot must be blind, otherwise such an unthinkable result would never happen, and he shot so fast, he didn't aim at all. He must know that he couldn't win no matter how much he hits, so that's why. It will be like this. This is the only explanation. Ha ha ha. Boy, you are a bit too tender. My grandma's marksmanship is better than yours. Go back and practice for another 10 years. A masterstroker like you is not qualified to join S.H.I.E.L.D. The agents burst into laughter and ridiculed unscrupulously, but they did not notice that the high-level S.H.I.E.L.D. such as Nick Fury, Hawkeye Barton, Natasha Romanoff, etc., looked solemn. Hawkeye Barton said coldly, "Shut up all, a bunch of ignorant idiots." He didn't miss the target, but hit all 10 shots. The first shot hit the red heart, and the remaining 9 shots passed through the hole made by the first shot. The reason why the computer misjudged is because of his 9 bullets, none of them touched the target. The noise came to an abrupt end, and the scene was instantly silent. The expressions of those hilarious agents were all frozen, especially Phil Andrew, who was dumbfounded and his face was hot. Hawkeye Barton, this is the master of shooting. Where to shoot there is no difference. The eyesight is terrifying, not to mention, since even he said so, then this is a fact, don't you believe it? Look at Natasha Romanoff's expression. Look back at Director Fury's. God. What kind of monster is this kid? Nick Fury was shocked, and said to Hawkeye, "Agent Barton, how do you think this little guy's shooting skills compare to yours?" Hawkeye confidently replied, "Director Fury, I will not lose to anyone in terms of shooting. But this little guy, in our S.H.I.E.L.D., no one is his opponent except me. Even, his shooting skills are comparable to mine." Finally, Hawkeye added another sentence. Phil Coulson was shocked. Nick Fury stared at Lee Buffon in the distance and murmured, "How much ability this little guy has hidden. Summoning him to S.H.I.E.L.D. Perhaps it was the most correct decision since I became the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. Nick Fury, Phil Coulson, Hawkeye walked towards everyone. Nick Fury clapped his hands and announced, "Little guy, you have proven yourself, and the close combat assessment will be exempted. I will fulfill my promise. From now on, you will be an 8th level S.H.I.E.L.D. agent." Lee Buffon smiled and said, "Thank you, Mr. Fury." Hawkeye looked at Lee Buffon deeply and asked, "Little guy, if it's convenient, I want to know who your teacher is." "Teacher?" Lee Buffon shrugged and said, "Mr. Barton, I don't have a teacher." Hawkeye was stunned. "There is no teacher? Then how did you get such perfect shooting skills? I believe that not only marksmanship, bows and arrows, or even throwing small stones, you can achieve success. Please don't deny it, otherwise you will be an insult." "My vision." Lee Buffon said, "I am not going to deny it, that. There is no teacher to teach me. If I have to say a teacher, then I count myself?" Hawkeye shook, staring at Lee Buffon, then shook his head, and said, "Little guy, you don't want to say it, no need to lie. You can have your own secrets, and no one can persecute you." When Hawkeye and Lee Buffon talked, the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents had already exploded. An 18-year-old high school student who only joined S.H.I.E.L.D. was awarded the title of 8th level agent. This has never happened before, and I am afraid it will hardly happen again in the future, and this is definitely an insult to them. Yes, it's an insult. How much effort did they put in for promotion? 3 years, 5 years, or 15 years? Even if he worked hard for S.H.I.E.L.D. for 15 years, he might not be able to rise to the 8th level. Why can he be so relaxed? Director Fury, we have an opinion. Why don't he be assessed for close combat? We are definitely not his opponent, but he is definitely not Odin's opponent either. This kid is arrogant and arrogant. Hey, Odin, what are you waiting for? Teach this kid hard. Nick Fury frowned, his face was unhappy, and he was secretly surprised. He knew that his decision would arouse the dissatisfaction of the agents, but he didn't expect these people to react so strongly that they completely ignored his authority. It seems that these guys have to be taught severely and let them know who is the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D. At this moment, the big guy who kept his head down, sitting quietly in the corner, suddenly stood up, directed at Lee Buffon, with a grinning smile on his face. "You ignorant boy, I'm going to tear you to pieces." The agents cheered. Odin is angry. That's the way it is. Big guy, take out all your strengths and give this kid a lesson. Boy, you are dead. Odin, come on. We will all support you this time. Nick Fury got big for a while. Bagley Odin, this guy is just like a mini version of the Green Monster. His strength is definitely not comparable to that of the Hulk, but his temper is exactly the same. As long as he is up, he can do anything. This guy is also one of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s killers. In the recent battle in Mexico, Thor wanted to get his sledgehammer back, and it was Bagley Odin who fought Thor hard. Although Thor was deprived of Thor's position, even if it wasn't Thor, that guy's fighting power was still strong. When Lee Buffon showed that he was not inferior to Hawkeye Barton's shooting, Nick Fury's mentality has changed. This little guy can make a great contribution to S.H.I.E.L.D. Bagley Odin is the gold medalist of S.H.I.E.L.D. This little guy has also proved his strength. In that case, he will be given the title of 8th level agent. Anyway, there is definitely no right. How about giving it to you? This is a win-win situation. There is no need to cause both loses. Once Odin goes crazy, the ghost knows what he will do. What if an accident happens? He considered everything, but he underestimated the anger of the agents. The agents don't know how he thinks about it, they only know that Lee Buffon, an 18-year-old little guy, only joined S.H.I.E.L.D. and became an 8th level agent. Bagley Odin's face was fierce, and he grinned at Lee Buffon. Damn bastard, are you ready to meet my anger? Gee. Lee Buffon clicked the corner of his mouth and looked at the big man in front of him jokingly. In a mysterious space that no one knew, several lines of golden Chinese characters appeared on Odin's head. Beep. Congratulations to the host, you have found a choice red envelope. You will have the following options. 1. Ignore Odin's challenge. You will be awarded the title of King of Indifference. 2. Reject Odin's challenge. You will get the title of Coward as a Mouse. 3. Accept the challenge of Odin. You will get 3 kinds of fire escape ninjutsu cheats. Beep. Please choose. Pete, as long as you are not an idiot, you know how to choose it, right? Lee Buffon's mouth ticked. Okay, big guy, I accept your challenge. System. Beep. Congratulations to the host, get 3 kinds of fire escape ninjutsu. 1. The technique of impatience, C. 2. The technique of dragonfire, C. 3. The head is hard, B. Beep. The item is distributed, the host can check it in the red envelope space. Lee Buffon moved his mind and scanned the red envelope space. Sure enough, he found 3 cheats in the red envelope space and immediately read it in his mind. The 3 kinds of fire escape ninjutsu, those not mentioned, all come from the world of Naruto. The 3 ninjutsu levels are all A-level medium, but the power of laughter is different, such as the dragon fire technique. After the seal, a linear flame will be emitted, which is powerful enough to instantly break a giant tree with a diameter of 2 meters. Hard work is better. The user of this technique is a member of the Akatsuki organization, Jiao Du, and has 2 major characteristics. First, the killing range is extremely wide. A small fireball is spit out from the mouth to the ground, and when it falls on the ground, it can instantly expand the burning range and swallow everything around it. The second is that it is extremely explosive. Once it is used, it is enough to make the surrounding land burn into a sea of flames in a blink of an eye. Odin finally got something a little harder. Wonderful. Lee Buffon hooked his mouth and couldn't help whistling. In just a few seconds, he has completely mastered the 3 types of ninjutsu, just like a ninja who has practiced for decades. The 3 types of ninjutsu's knot printing methods are so familiar to the chest that they can complete the knot without even a second. Print. Boy. What are you laughing at? Am I funny? Lee Buffon chuckled and whistled, which completely angered Bagley Odin. He was like an angry maned dog, baring his teeth fiercely. You will pay for your actions, and I will tear you up soon. Fragments. Okay. Lee Buffon poked his mouth indifferently. Letting you bark for so long, without beating you, how can it be done? At this time, Phil Coulson roared with an iron face. What do you want to do? This is S.H.I.E.L.D. What do you think you are? Do you think you are a gangster on the street? Do whatever you want? Odin. Return it to me. Odin still stared at Lee Buffon fiercely, saying, Agent Phil Coulson, I absolutely respect you. But this kid is so arrogant and arrogant. I must teach him today. He has accepted my challenge. Please don't stop it. You are really. Phil Coulson's head grows big, and he looks at Nick Fury helplessly. Wow. Nick Fury clapped his hands and said, It seems that this battle is inevitable, so let's start. As he spoke, his expression suddenly changed, and he glanced at the other agents like a cold flash, and said sternly, Now you are happy. What are you still trying to do? Hurry up and give these 2 heroes a place, so you won't be too exhausted. All right. The agents were startled in a cold sweat, knowing that the previous behavior had angered the director. They didn't dare to speak anymore, and immediately avoided. Lee Buffon and Odin are 10 meters away, standing opposite each other. The other agents have retreated far, Nick Fury, Phil Coulson, Hawkeye Barton, and Natasha Romanoff are the closest to them. Phil Coulson said, Chief Fury, why do you agree? Nick Fury angrily said, Agent Phil Coulson, don't you see the attitude of those agents? If I disagree, although there will be no trouble in front of me, there will definitely be a lot of trouble in the future. It is better to solve it now. Phil Coulson sighed slightly. Nick Fury commanded, Agent Barton, get ready. In the event of an accident, immediately stop it. No problem. Hawkeye smiled and said, don't worry, there will be no accidents. Nick Fury looked at Lee Buffon and said, little guy, are you sure? The big guy in front of you is not easy at all. He is our shield's ace fighter. Be careful. If you can't hold it, don't hold it. It's yourself that hurts. Do you get me? Clear. Lee Buffon smiled, shield ace beater? If this kind of strength is regarded as an ace fighter, then your shield is really weak, no wonder you will be bombed by Hydra. Nick Fury looked at Odin again, and warned in a deep voice, Odin, you should pay attention. Don't forget, you have already memorized 2 serious warnings. If you come again, you will be rolled back to prison. Odin stared at Lee Buffon with a weird smile, like a hunter saw his favorite prey. I really can't do anything with this guy. Nick Fury shook his head and said, I announce the rule of close combat. The rule of close combat is that there is no rule. You can use any means as long as you can knock down your opponent. Now, the close combat has officially begun. Odin's eyes stared suddenly. Before Nick Fury's voice fell, he was like a furious beast, suddenly exerting force. Crack. With a muffled noise, the floor under his feet was completely shattered. Next moment, Odin suddenly jumped up. Mr. Shield's ace beater is still a bit strong. Instead of rushing forward, he jumped forward. The forward jump was at least 4 meters. When he reached the top, he was not far away from Lee Buffon. 3 meters. Then, Odin charged his right fist, like a crossbow arrow, and shot straight towards Lee Buffon. Odin grinned and said, I don't know how high the earth is. You think you are a human after killing 2 trash fish. You still don't know anything about real power. Come and meet this uncle's fist of anger. From the beginning to the present, there is only 1 or 2 seconds, Lee Buffon is still standing there, as if he hadn't reacted at all. Nick Fury, Phil Coulson and others were shocked. This bastard. Nick Fury's face was blue, and he cursed, he was a sudden attack, and I haven't finished speaking. That little guy is not ready at all. Hawkeye, take action to stop Odin, he will really kill that little guy. Hawkeye didn't make a move right away. He was staring at Lee Buffon strangely. Although the little guy was standing there, it was not without any response. His hands seemed to be making something strange. Hawkeye. Nick Fury called again, but Hawkeye had already missed the best time, and it was too late to think about it. Lee Buffon didn't make any surprises, but was in Jian. Si Chen Mao Yin. Fire escape dragon fire art. Next moment. Whoosh. A straight flame shot from in front of Lee Buffon and rushed towards Odin's chest. What? Odin's face changed dramatically. Lee Buffon twitched the corner of his mouth and chuckled softly. You still don't know anything about real power. So, are you ready to meet the fire of my anger? What? Accompanied by a heart-piercing scream. The dragonfire was like a sharp sword, easily pierced through Odin's chest, and Odin's momentum was like a rainbow, and finally it flew backwards like a rainbow, and back. Boom. Odin slammed into the concrete wall more than 10 meters away, a big hole in his chest, and his eyes widened in shock. The person is not dead yet, but even if it can be saved, it will take a long time to recover. Moreover, even if it recovers, it is impossible to have the current strength. This guy is useless. All the agents who were watching the battle were all dumbfounded. Nick Fury is dumbfounded. Natasha Romanoff was dumbfounded. Hawkeye and Phil Coulson are all dumbfounded. Old God. What did I see? That guy, he's a monster. What was that just now? That guy, is he the legendary magician? Damn it. There really is a magician in this world. The agents started talking in shock. Damn it. Nick Fury's face was blue, and he stared at Lee Buffon angrily. Really a little bastard who can cause trouble at any time. How much ability do you hide? Lee Buffon said. Compared to this, Director Fury, I think you should care more about your ace fighter. He is about to die. Nick Fury yelled at the agents. What are you still waiting for? Do you really want to watch Odin die? Damn, bring that hapless guy to the medical department. Ah, yes, Chief Fury. Only then did the agents react, and rushed to Odin in a hurry. It was really unlucky. This guy basically only had half his life. Looking at Lee Buffon again, all the agents who had been clamoring before were scared. Pete. This guy is really incredible. Fortunately, he didn't make his head just now. If it wasn't, it was not Odin, but them, who were lying on the ground half alive. More importantly, they did not have such a strong vitality as Odin. If they were to belch directly, right? You, come to my office. Nick Fury looked annoyed, and pointed at Lee Buffon, sullenly. After a while. Office. Only Nick Fury and Lee Buffon, no one spoke. Nick Fury just stared at Lee Buffon in annoyance and helplessness. Lee Buffon said, Director Fury, no one has any comments now, right? Nick Fury. Lee Buffon reminded, my 8th level agent is serious. Nick Fury instantly exploded. You are a bad boy who can only cause trouble. You almost killed in S.H.I.E.L.D. 8th level agent just now. Do you know what you did? In the end, this is your focus? Bad boy, are you sure you are joking with me? Lee Buffon. Not at all. That guy is begging for death. I just met his wish. Director Fury, from start to finish, he is provoking him. Even if he is killed, it has nothing to do with me, right? This truth? Nick Fury. I have to say, it makes sense, but your kid's mouth is too poisonous. What do you mean by asking for death? Nick Fury was completely speechless, shook his head and said, just forget about it, but in the future, little guy, I don't want something similar to happen again, absolutely not allowed. Lee Buffon said, as long as no one is looking for death, it won't. Why is this guy smelly and hard like the stone in the pit? Nick Fury's head grew louder for a while and said, forget it, let's talk about something else. Little guy, I want to know, what was that just now? Magic. Magic? Lee Buffon shook his head and chuckled softly. That's magic, it's magic at best, it's just a trick. Nick Fury stared at one-eyed, and said silently, little trick? That's it. Your little trick instantly killed Bagley Odin, do you know? You want to say that, I will give you a code name, and you will be called Magic in the future. The teacher's done. Lee Buffon. Magic? Not bad, this is my code name. Nick Fury frantically said, damn. Irony. I'm ridiculing you, don't you know, you are driving me crazy. Tell me, do you still have similar tricks like the one just now? Lee Buffon. That's all for the time being. I can still develop it in the future, right? Nick Fury waved his hand and said, okay, Mr. Agent Magician of level 8, you can leave. You are still a middle school student. If there are no special circumstances, you will go to school normally during school hours, and come to the bureau to report on Saturdays and Sundays. I will inform you of the task. He followed Nick Fury and said other things, such as Wanda and Magneto. Without the consent of Lee Buffon, S.H.I.E.L.D. would not contact Wanda again. On the Magneto side, they would also conduct negotiations to ensure that Magneto would no longer be entangled with Wanda. With the 8th level of agent certification, plus Wanda, Lee Buffon's goal has been achieved and he left S.H.I.E.L.D. with satisfaction. Just after he left, Nick Fury, who had been violent and frantic before, suddenly recovered his calm. Before this, all kinds of disguise. An old fox like him who has been cultivating for decades, and even Captain Marvel has seen the world destroying weirdness. How could it be possible that because Lee Buffon showed a little magic, just Roar grabbed the sky and lost his sense of measure? Definitely, the shock is absolutely real. Click. The wooden door of the office was pushed open. Natasha Romanoff, Hawkeye, Phil Coulson walked in. Nick Fury struck out the 3 chairs and motioned for the 3 to sit down. Phil Coulson asked, Director Fury, how did you talk? Nick Fury told the truth. Phil Coulson's eyes widened, speechless and annoyed. Little magic. Damn, he called the killing skill just now little magic. So what is the big one? Nick Fury looked at Hawkeye and Natasha Romanoff and asked, what do you two think? Hawkeye said, he didn't lie, it shouldn't be magic, at least not the magic we know in the West, it's more like the skill of that mysterious power in the East. Nick Fury. Then he will be the 8th level agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., Mr. Magician from now on. Natasha Romanoff said, Director Fury, I think this is not the most important thing. This little guy seems to have many secrets, definitely, the most important thing is, what does he think of S.H.I.E.L.D. and whether he is loyal? Loyal? Nick Fury laughed. This is the biggest joke I heard today. I didn't see any of this from that little guy. Let alone loyalty. If I give him a task, he doesn't want to do it. Then he will never do it. This, Natasha Romanoff and Hawkeye were helpless. To be honest, this kind of person is not only Lee Buffon, but Tony Shea Stark, Steve Rogers, and Dr. Banner are all. If you want to invite them, you must have a good reason, otherwise they won't do it at all. But the difference between Li Bufan and those people is that those people are independent individuals and do not belong to S.H.I.E.L.D., but this little guy Li Bufan is already a person from S.H.I.E.L.D. Phil Coulson said. I have a doubt. He has such a dull personality and so many killers. He is definitely an S-class wanted criminal, but why should he join S.H.I.E.L.D.? Moreover, he is very concerned about our certification. Nick Fury chuckled and said, who knows, a funny and thoughtful little villain. What is your purpose? I will know in the future. Since I have joined S.H.I.E.L.D., I can't let him eat rice. I will find some thorny tasks for him in a few days. Phil Coulson replied. Yes. Asterisk in the office. Nick Fury said. Okay, put that little guy's aside in advance, let's talk about something else, Agent Phil Coulson. Phil Coulson said. The big hammer has been solved, Thor has returned to Asgard. Nick Fury. In other words, the alien trouble is solved? Phil Coulson shrugged. It looks like this now, boss. Very good. Nick Fury looked at Hawkeye again and said, Agent Barton, where is the big green guy? Hawkeye said. After the Suburban War, the Hulk disappeared. Just this morning, our people found Dr. Banner. He hid in the slums of Kolkata and used his knowledge to help the poor. Nick Fury smiled. Hawkeye added, he is now a doctor in the slums of Kolkata and he is not so famous. Wow. Nick Fury exclaimed and said, how long has the big green guy not come out? Half a year or a year. Dr. Banner is really amazing. Compared to him, another playboy hates him a lot. Agent Normanova. What's the situation with that dude? Is the palladium poisoning done? Natasha Romanoff said. Tony has suppressed the toxicity of palladium according to the video his father left him, but he still has a big trouble. The Lash has been taken out of prison by Tony's rival, Justin Hammer. Nick Fury said. So, Justin Hammer has become the boss of the whip. That fool who tramples the law, he really thinks he can control the whip. If he wants to be the boss of the whip, he doesn't even die. Knowledge. It's really troublesome. Let Dr. Banner stay in Kolkata first. I hate that playboy so much, so Natasha Romanoff, then you will get in touch with him. Natasha Romanoff. No problem. The meeting is over. In addition to this trouble, there is one thing Nick Fury didn't tell Natasha Romanoff and let Natasha Romanoff take charge of Tony. It is definitely not just because he hates it, but because he, Hawkeye, Phil Coulson have more important things to deal with. Tesseract. The Level 1 section of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s research on Tesseract is about to be completed, and it will soon enter the second stage using Tesseract to develop higher-level black technology weapons. Not to deal with other countries, but to save the Earth and protect all mankind. The appearance of Thor has made them understand that there are really extraterrestrial intelligent creatures outside the Earth. Their power is terrifying, and to take precautions, Nick Fury must be prepared before danger comes. Li Bufan left S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters and then returned to the school. As expected, Phil Coulson said that it would be resolved with a single call, without any trouble or doubt. Class normally. When Nick Fury racked his brains to tame his wild horse, Li Bufan also had a crazy plan in his mind. What is the ultimate mission this time? Become a level 10 agent certified by S.H.I.E.L.D. He has always had a misunderstanding, that is, joining S.H.I.E.L.D., then making contributions, and finally being promoted, but he was wrong. The system just made him a S.H.I.E.L.D. 10th level agent, but there was no prescribed method. Then, he can use his own means to force Nick Fury. Definitely, this requires absolute strength. Then wait for a while, then it will be interesting. Li Bufan, who had figured out everything, suddenly became enlightened. Although the marinated egg is not flat, the benefits of adding S.H.I.E.L.D. are actually quite a lot. As I thought, although he was certified as an 8th level agent, he only has the authority of a level 5 agent. In New York, he can move independently. S.H.I.E.L.D. has not assigned tasks and can arrange tasks by himself. In addition, he can also access a certain level of top-secret information, the most obvious of which is wanted criminals of various levels. In Li Bufan's eyes, those people are not wanted criminals, but Franklin's glowing. Wanted criminals are divided into 4 levels: B level, A level, S level, and no authority. The last one is unauthorized. Okay, manual funny. The lowest B level reward has 500,000 USD, and the S level reward has reached 210,000 USD. Inadvertently, there is an extra plan to make a fortune, which is really a surprise. 2 days later, Thursday. Everything is business as usual. In the past 2 days, Li Bufan has browsed all the information about wanted criminals that he has the authority to know, focusing on those who may still be in New York, and then go out for a stroll in the evening. See if you are so lucky to bump into a certain one. Facts have proved that he is not the emperor. In addition to these trivial matters, Phil Coulson also contacted him once and told him that the negotiation between S.H.I.E.L.D. and Magneto was over and the two parties reached a preliminary agreement that within 6 months, the two parties should not entangle Wanda for any reason. For Lee Buffon, this is the most important thing. School cafeteria, lunchtime. Ding. Lee Buffon was shocked, and the real map resurfaced, and a moving red dot appeared. Red envelopes appear again. Unlike before, this time, the system's voice directly appeared. Congratulations to the host, I found a special task. Red envelope. Task. Kill So-and call time, 12 hours. Reward. Unknown. So-and Core, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s class wanted criminal, offers a reward of $2 million. According to the S.H.I.E.L.D. file record, this guy was originally a thief, and once stole the military's secret research institute. At that time, the military was conducting a nuclear experiment. He fled after being discovered. He fell into the gravel mixer by accident. When he was found, only 2 feet were left outside. Everyone thought he was dead. Actually came out again. Robbing banks, killing people. There are so many crimes that ordinary policemen can't deal with them at all. They have special abilities. In the Marvel world, how do the poor get super ability? Variation. Nuclear radiation, being bitten by spiders, are just like the magical skills of jumping off a cliff in martial arts novels. Ordinary people have died hundreds of times earlier. As long as they don't die, they will definitely awakening special ability. This is no surprise. Lee Buffon clicked on the corner of his mouth. Although I am not the king of Europe, I have no special system, and I can't make a single point for the money I earn. Brooklyn, a bar named Rose on the coastline. The music is noisy, and the human voice is full. A punk-like young man with a full-body leather jacket and a studded peaked cap walked into the bar and came to the bar. The bartender who was mixing the wine said, "Hey, call something to drink today." "A cup of red bombs." "No problem." This young man, it was So-and Core. After finishing the order, he turned around and stared at the graceful figure swaying on the dance floor. A hot blonde girl came into his eyes. "Hey, it's yours." So-and Core said excitedly, "Baby, it will make you so cool tonight." He didn't worry at all that he would be rejected, because no one could reject him. If there is, then be strong. Even S.H.I.E.L.D. has nothing to do with him, let alone ordinary people. New York, where S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters is located, once on the S.H.I.E.L.D. blacklist, he often hides for fear of being caught by S.H.I.E.L.D., but he is not. Definitely, he has been chased and killed by S.H.I.E.L.D. 8 times and escaped from New York 8 times. But every time he survived. Definitely, back to the Big Apple City alive. This city has the prosperity of the whole world. He loves it to death and will never leave completely. To survive it is to avoid the limelight. Guru. Locking on tonight's stunner, So-and Core quickly drank the wine, then got up and walked to the dance floor, but at this moment, a joking voice sounded behind him. So-and Core, go out and chat with me. So-and Core didn't turn his head back, and said annoyed, "I don't know who you are and don't want to know. You just need to know. I'm very angry now. If I lose 3 times, I will turn around. If you are still there, I promise you will die miserably." "Oh. Then don't count, turn around immediately. Asshole." So-and Core screamed, turned his head sullenly, and saw a green but disgusting face. He gritted his teeth and said, "You don't know how to live or die, you are dead." So bloody. Lee Buffon twitched his mouth and said with a chuckle, "Then let's go outside, and you are welcome to kill me." 2 minutes later, the two came to the dark and dirty alley behind the bar, with vomit on the road everywhere. Lee Buffon chuckled. "Introduce myself, Lee Buffon, S.H.I.E.L.D. 8th level agent." "Huh. S.H.I.E.L.D.? The expression on So-and Core's face became very exciting, and he burst into laughter. "Please, is S.H.I.E.L.D. down to this level? Even the little guys who don't have the same hair like you are taken away. You kid is joking. Bar?" Lee Buffon chuckled. "What do you think? Move your poor brain cells, think about it. Definitely S.H.I.E.L.D. Because the danger level of So-and Core is too high. Ordinary policemen cannot access his core information at all, let alone receive related tasks. They don't even know that So-and Core lives by their side." "You bastard. You dare to look down on me." So-and Core was furious. "Do you know that before you, S.H.I.E.L.D. had chased and killed me 8 times, but every time, I survived. 8 chases, 3 encirclement and suppression, 5 single-agent chases, but now that all 5 guys have become corpses. Congratulations. This is the last time. You will never have to live in fear again." So-and Core frowned deeply, and didn't know what Lee Buffon meant. "No one will hunt down Deadman, will they?" Li Bufan smiled and added. That's what it meant. Damn bug, you must pay the price of your life for your own words. So Kor immediately drew his pistol and aimed it at Li Bufan's head. Boom. The bullet drilled out of the barrel. At the same time, Li Bufan dragged a thick steel pipe from the side and threw the bullet at the moment So Kal shot. Sparks are flying. The steel pipe accurately collided with the bullet, blasting the bullet directly, and then, like a crossbow, it shot towards Suwon Kor's chest. What? So Kor's face changed drastically, and he said solemnly, You bug, you have a good deal of skill. Click. In the muffled sound, the thick steel pipe pierced So Kor's chest, but there was no blood flowing out, but countless sands turned out. Desertification. It seems that this hapless awakening's special ability is deserted, but those feet. According to the archives, most of this poor insect's body got into the mixer, with only one pair of feet exposed. Achilles' heel is a fatal flaw. So Kal stretched out his hand, slowly pulled the steel pipe out of his chest, and said jokingly, Why, are you surprised? You don't know what my special ability is it because S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't know? No, they have chased me 8 times. How could they not know, but why didn't they write it down in the file? Want to know the reason? Let me tell you, because you little bug is not my opponent at all. I don't want you to know it because I don't want you to perform the task, and I don't want you to perform the task. I don't want you to die. Ah. Before he finished speaking, Li Bufan had already made another move. He took off 2 slabs from the wall and threw them out, smashing So Kor's feet into a mess. I'm going to kill you bastard. So Kal screamed heartily, staring at Li Bufan bitterly. Li Bufan curled his lips and sneered, Idiot, as a villain, you haven't heard a wise saying. The villain died of a lot of words. Also, from which eye did you see me surprised? Zi yin shu cho mao yin. Fire escaped the art of impatience. Whoosh. Impatience seeds that fluttered all around at the touch of a touch, several petal-like flames rushed towards Suwon Kor, instantly turning Suwon Kor into a fireman, amidst the screams, So Kal sha. Except for the feet, all other parts of the body were deserted, yelling bitterly, I'm going to kill you, and flew towards Li Bufan. But when he was about to fly in front of Li Bufan, the flame went out, and every grain of the sand that had been burned by 1,000 degrees of heat shattered, turned black, and fell on the ground. Wipe. For Li Bufan, the trouble now is, how can he explain to others that this dark thing is So Kal? Li Bufan's mouth twitched. Beep, congratulations to the host, complete the task, and you will get Absolute Guardian of the Soul, profound meaning. Item. Absolute Guardian of the Soul, profound meaning. Quality. A level high attributes. Special item skills. World. Necromancer world, features. Refining spirit, absolute spiritual guardian ability. No spiritual ability person can cause damage to your mind. Absolute guardian of the mind. Li Bufan was overjoyed and immediately put aside the trouble of not being able to recognize the corpse. According to the item information given by the system, this is a reward without any offensiveness, but it can absolutely protect the spirit. He needs this so much. Professor X is rubbish when he is weak, and a myth when he is strong. With the help of equipment, he can know the whole world without leaving his house into the whole world, anyone's brain. Except for Professor X, Phoenix, Piano Gray and Loki, the god of tricks, all have similar abilities. Phoenix Jean Grey can read the consciousness of others and control the opponent at the same time, and the god of trick Loki, the reason why he has the ability of mind control, is because he has the mind gem embedded mind scepter. In that sensational battle in New York, Loki almost controlled Tony Stark. If he succeeds, the ending of the New York War will definitely be rewritten. With mind control, this kind of ability is too buggy, so don't worry about it now. Li Bufan's thoughts flashed, entered the red envelope space, and quickly browsed. After about half a minute, he completely mastered this ability. Even if Professor X stood in front of him, it would not be possible to cause any interference to his spirit. Cool. Li Bufan was in a good mood and could not help but blew his whistle before returning to Queens. 2 days passed in a hurry, and soon came Sunday. Everything is business as usual. Nothing special happened. Li Bufan is a layman. Nothing happens is a good thing. He only needs to guard his daughter-in-law and live a small life that belongs to him and his daughter-in-law. By the way, he waits for the red envelope to appear and get it. For example, now, the two of them are lying on their own sofa, enjoying the bright sunshine. Definitely, Li Bufan's hands are not idle, he is playing ball wantonly. Little villain, don't go any further. Wanda blushed and grabbed Li Bufan's hand in a strange way. Lee Buffon laughed and said, sorry, I can't help it. Wanda was charmingly white. Lee Buffon gave Lee Buffon a look, and said with amorous feelings, the little villain who is never fed. Boom. The two were in love with their concubines, and a block of more than 200 meters away suddenly burst into a loud noise. Huge amounts of gas wave impacted all around, and the whole building was slightly shaken. What happened? Lee Buffon and Wanda's complexion changed. They immediately got up and came to the huge amounts of glass window. Wipe. It's Tony again. Lee Buffon's mouth twitched. I saw Tony Stark in Chinatown more than 200 meters away, wearing Iron Man battlesuit Mark's 5th generation convenience suit, and he was fighting with a brawny man wearing simple armor and waving 2 energy whips on his wrist. How is this going? Lee Buffon frowned. According to the timeline provided by the Marvel movie, Thor's sledgehammer fell on the Earth, which happened after Iron Man 2. S.H.I.E.L.D. found that the sledgehammer appeared in the egg at the end of Iron Man 2. In this world, Thor has gotten Loki sent to the Earth to kill his destroyers and return to Asgard. Then how come Tony Stark hasn't gotten the flogging? Lee Buffon secretly said, it seems that the timeline of this world is a little different from what I think. Forget it, it doesn't matter. Downstairs, Tony Stark fought with the whip and walked away. It came suddenly, caused great damage, and disappeared suddenly. Wanda came up with a little temper, and said coquettishly, hate guy. This weekend was perfect, but now it's all ruined by them. Lee Buffon said, daughter-in-law, don't be angry, anyway, we have more time at night. What? Wanda instantly understood Lee Buffon's meaning. A pair of pink fists fell on Lee Buffon's chest, and said in shame, you little villain, who made you angry because they destroyed you? Let you talk nonsense. Lee Buffon laughed and looked at Wanda, who was so embarrassed by him. It was also a kind of enjoyment. At this moment, mind. The system voice resurfaced. Beep, congratulations to the host. Touch the storyline. Open the special task red envelope. Kill Ivan Vanki the whip. Time limit, 12 hours. Beep, note. There is no tracking display for this mission. Touch the storyline and opened a special mission? Is there such an operation? Lee Buffon was taken aback, followed by a tick at the corner of his mouth, eyes flashing with cunning. You two guys disturbed Lao Tzu's dreams. How could it be that way? I must ask you to collect a certain amount of interest. I took all the red envelopes incidentally. Wanda, I have something to go out. You stay at home obediently, don't run around. I know, I'm not a child, pay attention to safety. Good. It wasn't until Lee Buffon left that Wanda reacted. His eyes widened with anger. You stinky fellow. What attitude is that? Please, I am better than you. Why do you treat me like a child and make me so angry? What? While talking, Wanda laughed. His face is full of happiness. This feeling of being pampered is really good. 2 hours later, at Tony's villa, Pepper Potts was treating Tony's wounds. This guy was very embarrassed with countless wounds just like the first time he met with the whip. Ah. Miss Potts, I think you should be lighter. It's already very light. No, I think you could be lighter, a gentle and considerate person like you. Don't be pitiful. Little Chilly was so angry that Tony gave a glance. This guy is already hurt like this, and his tongue is so glib. While helping Tony treat the wound, she asked with concern, Tony, what's the situation? Vanki is not in prison. Little Pepper was shocked. What? Yes, that guy didn't stay in jail, he has already come out, and I can even be sure that he has been out for a long time. Oh, God. Little Pepper stopped in shock. Do not stop. Oh, sorry. Little Chilly hurriedly continued his work. All the medicine was applied. All he had to do was to tie a bandage. He continued, that dangerous guy, who released him from prison. How come there is no news at all? Tony put on his shirt, thought for 2 seconds, and already had the answer in his mind, and said, Miss Potts, you have to know that money can make ghosts worse. But this is too exaggerated. It's not an exaggeration. It may not be possible to have money alone, but if that person has both money and power, it will be easy. Little Pepper's eyes brightened, and he exclaimed, Justin Hammer. My God, in order to defeat you, he did this to such an extent? Is he crazy, and would cooperate with that extremely dangerous lunatic? Justin Hammer, Tony's competitor. Because Tony Stark refused to publish the Iron Man battlesuit manufacturing information, which made the US military extremely annoyed. At this time, Justin Hammer stepped forward, cooperating with the military on the one hand, and the whip on the other, and finally came up with a copycat version of Iron Man battlesuit. He has money, he also has rights. It couldn't be easier to get the Lash out of prison. Tony craps. Oh, there is nothing surprising about it. Everyone who wants to defeat Tony Stark will eventually become a madman. Vanky is lashing out, and so is Hammer. Little Pepper said. Then what are you going to do? Tony said, I already have a perfect plan. I can solve that guy tonight. At this time, the smart butler Jarvis suddenly said, Mr. Tony, the somewhat annoying Miss N came to visit. Little Pepper. Who is Miss N who is a bit annoying? Damn it. I knew it. Tony explained quickly, it's the woman who came to apply for a special assistant last time you met. She is from S.H.I.E.L.D. Jarvis, open the door and let her in. Soon, Natasha Romanoff walked into the villa, but she was not alone. Lee Buffon is also there. Tony, Potts, and Natasha Romanoff made simple calls to Roar. Tony looked at Lee Buffon at will, activated his poisonous tongue, and said with a serious expression, Miss Normanova, who is this little guy? Is your son? Do you have to take care of the children? It's really hard work. Natasha Romanoff smiled and said, Tony, if you dare to talk nonsense, I promise you will tear your mouth. Well, she couldn't speak anymore, because Lee Buffon had sealed her attractive red lips. Well, use your own mouth. Oh, God. What did I see? Tony gave Roar a surprise. Little Chili was also stunned. You guy. Natasha Romanoff relied on the will of the agent to break free, and asked with a reddish cheek, what are you doing? Lee Buffon said, I just proved to Tony. Tony gave a thumbs up, witty enough. Natasha Romanoff glared at Lee Buffon, sorted out his clothes a little, and then said, Tony, Pepper, let me introduce this. This is Lee Buffon, S.H.I.E.L.D. 8th level agent. Oh, great little guy. Tony exclaimed. Little Pepper was skeptical, and said, isn't it possible? How old is he? How could he be an 8th level agent? Natasha Romanoff said, he won it back by strength. Tony interrupted the conversation between the two of them and said, I'm very busy, so we have something to say. He means that he will replace you and meet me in the future. Definitely not. Natasha Romanoff shook his head and continued, this task has nothing to do with this guy. I didn't plan to let him come, but he said he has an account to settle with you, so I brought him here. Tony looked at Lee Buffon and said, children, do we know each other? I don't know, this is the first time I have met. That, Lee Buffon recounted what happened before. Natasha Romanoff and Little Chili were all dumbfounded. Tony also stared, you mean, I disturbed you and your wife, so I have to compensate you? That's it. Lee Buffon nodded. What are you kidding? This is the most ridiculous thing I have heard this year. Oh no, please wait a minute, you said you were married and live with your, wife? God. You're just a high school student. Oh, and, don't come up and just call me Tony. It's too rude. We don't know each other so well. You should call me Mr. Tony, Roar. Tony looked ridiculous, and at the same time corrected Lee Buffon's call to himself as Roar. Very serious. Lee Buffon complied with kindness and nodded, no problem, Tony. Tony said, damn it. Call me Mr. Tony, Lee Buffon. Okay, Tony. Tony She Stark. Lee Buffon said with a serious face. Tony, how much are you going to compensate me and my wife for mental damage? I have already calculated it for you in advance. One person is 1 million, and the total is $2 million. Please pay within 3 days. Tony was going crazy and exclaimed, oh my God, the damn mental damage fee. Listen, Hanmer's product exhibition is about to start. I don't have time to waste here. You need a mental damage fee. Jarvis. Find out the account of this little guy and put $2 million in it. Jarvis. No problem, sir, it only takes 5 minutes. Tony continued. There is no problem now. You nasty kid, stop pestering me, okay? Because Tony She Stark is about to save New York. Jarvis, prepare. When the goal is achieved, and the information he wants to know is also known, Lee Buffon will naturally not block it. Want to save New York? No problem, the head that can be lashed is mine. Mark 6, which is the 6th generation of Iron Man battlesuit, is the latest invention of Tony She Stark. He developed a brand new arc reactor and added an infrared laser knife to his wrist, but cut the steel door. The power of this suit is unprecedentedly powerful. The only flaw is that the weapon consumes too much energy. After a cool outfit, Tony has turned into Iron Man. Wow. Cool. Although he entered the Marvel world, this was the first time Lee Buffon had come into contact with Iron Man so close, and he couldn't help whistling. Iron Man is worthy of being Marvel's C position. Although Tony is a venomous tongue, rich, willful, tattooed, and picking up girls, he is still a good boy. A few years later, This guy sacrificed himself in order to save half of humanity, which is even more great. How should I put it? The body of a mortal is comparable to a god. Li Bufan would not do that, but in the bottom of my heart, he has a respect for such people. Hey. Tony pointed at Li Bufan and said, Shield must be crazy, and even recruits little guys like you. Boy, are you still weaned? Wipe. There was a black line on Li Bufan's forehead. He took back his words. Now that respect is gone. New York will be very dangerous later. It's more dangerous than before. You'd better hide, otherwise it's not a mental damage fee. Even if Deadman needs compensation, it's useless, right? Oh, no, Deadman won't want compensation at all. Although this guy didn't care about the money, he lost Li Bufan 2 million. But how could he be the kind of master who is willing to suffer losses? He must ask for it back. The character is still very bad. Li Bufan hooked the corner of his mouth. It was a coincidence that we were half-hearted. You are poisonous, you are bad, and the little master is not bad. Wait. Natasha Romanoff frowned, and immediately said, Tony, what happened? What are you going to do now? You must explain it clearly to me. Sweetheart, I don't have time to explain to you. Whoosh. Tony activated the Iron Man armor, turned it into a red streamer, and flew towards Manhattan. There. It was Justin Hammer who held the first set of unmanned steel soldier press conference of Hanmer Industries. Yes, unlike Tony's Iron Man suit, the steel armor designed for Hanmer Industries is a remote-controlled model. Definitely, in order to prove himself, Justin Hammer also put together a set of wearables, controlled by Lieutenant Colonel James Rhodes. In the US military, Rhodes is the most adept at manipulating steel battlesuits. He has a very good relationship with Tony, but he is in the rivers and lakes and can't help himself. He can't disobey the military's orders, even if Justin Hammer is Tony's enemy. Even if he himself hates that guy extremely, he still has to cooperate with Hammer. Vanky that lunatic. Little Chili exclaimed as if thinking of something. Natasha Romanoff looked serious. Miss Potts, what happened? There is no time to explain. Let's go to Justin Hammer's exhibition right away. As we walked, we said, Jarvis, prepare the Phantom sports car. Little Chili looked eager. Jarvis. Okay, Miss Potts. 10 minutes later, Li Bufan, Natasha Romanoff, and Pepper drove the Phantom sports car and galloped towards the exhibition center. On the way, Little Pepper quickly sorted out the matter and exclaimed, It's incredible. Li Bufan chuckled softly, It's very simple. Little Chili glanced at Li Bufan. Where is it simple? Li Bufan shrugged and said, Although S.H.I.E.L.D. has great magical powers, it does not mean that no one can control it. What if the lashes are released by the president himself signing a document? It's just a prisoner. Little Pepper fell into deep thought. That's what Tony said. Natasha Romanoff said, Miss Potts, what do you want to do with the whip? What does Tony mean? Little Chili shook his head. I don't know. Whiplash must have a big plan. Tony should have guessed it, but he didn't say it. I only know it must be related to Hanmer's product exhibition, and I will know it there. Natasha Romanoff cursed. Damn it. Tony, that bastard, is as arrogant as before, always thinking he can solve it. Li Bufan hooked the corner of his mouth. Little Chili doesn't know, but he knows, but he didn't say it. I have to say, who brought him to the exhibition site? After another 10 minutes, the Phantom sports car had arrived at the door of the product exhibition, but the car had not stopped. Boom. There was a loud noise inside the exhibition site, and the sudden sound of machine gun shooting sounded at the same time. Among them, it was accompanied by the startled roar and screams of the audience. Natasha Romanoff and Little Pepper's face changed drastically. At this time, Li Bufan suddenly said, Natasha Romanoff, you'd better rush to Hanmer Industries now. Natasha Romanoff has a question mark on her face. Li Bufan casually explained. Justin Hammer collaborated with Whiplash to develop an unmanned steel battlesuit. Hammer thought that Whiplash was to create a superweapon to suppress Tony. In fact, he didn't know that Whiplash had another plan. Natasha Romanoff asked, Speak clearly. Li Bufan shrugged and said, The whip has controlled all the unmanned steel soldiers. Now they are killing them. You have all seen them. Definitely, including Lieutenant Colonel Rod. Damn it. How did you know? Whip that lunatic. Natasha Romanoff cursed. Little Pepper's surprised roar, and Li Bufan had opened the car door, got out of the car, and walked in towards the exhibition. Little guy. What are you doing? Little Chili's face changed greatly and worried. Don't go in, it's very dangerous there. Natasha Romanoff said angrily at Li Bufan. You knew it, right? Why didn't you say it earlier? Li Bufan said without looking back. You didn't ask either. Natasha Romanoff. Her forehead is full of black lines, and she can't wait to beat Lee Buffon violently. Forget it. Now is not the time to settle accounts with that little bastard, she shouted at Lee Buffon. Damn little bastard, pay me attention to safety. Receive. Lee Buffon smiled and strode into the exhibition. Behind. Natasha Romanoff restarted the sports car and rushed towards Hammer Industries. Little Chilly said with a worried look, "It's dangerous there, is it okay to let him in?" Natasha Romanoff angrily said, "Miss Potts, don't be fooled by that guy's appearance. What he can do is beyond your imagination. You little bastard, when this matter is resolved, I will settle the ledger with you." The scene of the Hammer Industrial Products exhibition has been messed up, and the attendees have suffered numerous casualties. In Marvel film and television, taking the New York War as an example, the Qatari alien army invaded the Earth and used this super technology to kill in New York, but the alien army collectively blinded, either attacking buildings or attacking vehicles. People. No. Basically you can't see anyone killed or injured. The Qatari are not here to invade, but want to come to a science and technology show. It's just hilarious. But that was just a movie, not reality. The reality at this moment is that at least 60 people have died, and there are countless injured people. When Lee Buffon entered the exhibition, all he encountered were people who had fled. When Lee Buffon, the little guy looking for death, they all met a surprised look. Only two kind people reminded him not to go in. Lee Buffon smiled slightly and ignored it. "Damn it. Little guy, you will die. Don't go in anymore." In the silent voice of roar from passers-by, Lee Buffon walked into the venue with a confident expression. At the control center in the venue, Justin Hammer was completely stunned and roared at the technicians. "Damn. What the hell does that bastard Vanky want to do? It's over, it's all over." It is indeed over. Originally, in this weapons exhibition, Justin Hammer wanted to prove to the military how advanced and powerful his weapons are, but he was lashed into a massacre scene. The anger of the people cannot be quelled, and the military will not let go. Pass him. The only thing he can do now is to minimize the loss. Cut off Vanky's control of the steel soldiers. Damn it, hurry up. Boss, the signals are all blocked. F*K. Then please contact Hammer Industries headquarters as soon as possible to modify the control program of all steel soldiers, and it can be done there. Boss, the signal is blocked. Justin Hammer was going crazy and yelled. "Damn, you idiot, the signal is blocked, don't you know how to use a landline?" The phone cord has also been cut. Justin Hammer. At the venue, in addition to Justin Hammer, Tony is also working hard to prevent this massacre. He did a good job. If it weren't for him, the number of deaths would never be so small, at least twice as many. His enemies, in addition to those unmanned steel soldiers, and his good friend James Rhodes. Whoosh. Boom. Tony tried his best to avoid Rhodes' attack. While dodging, he asked, "Rhodes, haven't you lifted control?" Rod's surprised roar. "No. Tony, think about a way. I'm still locking you down." The cleverness of the whiplash trick is that Rod is different from those steel soldiers. In the face of steel soldiers' attacks, Tony can fight back unscrupulously without psychological pressure, but he can't face Rod. He can't get this cruel hand. "Oh, friend, it seems we are in a bit of trouble." "A little bit?" Rod complained. "Tony, do you call it a bit like this now?" Tony said, "The people here are too dense. If you fight, it will cause a lot of casualties. You can't stay here." "Where are you going?" "Kennedy Garden." "What about the whip?" Tony shrugged and smiled. "My friend, the purpose of the whip is to kill me. It's not these ordinary people, he will definitely follow." "All right," Rod said, then he turned his head and saw the VIP seats in the audience. Except for Deadman, all the people in the meeting had left, but there was still a calm and composed big boy who was not panicked at all. With his thighs and two legs cocked, there was a faint smile on the corners of his mouth, as if he were watching a play. "Damn it. What's the matter with that big boy?" Roar was shocked, and said to Lee Buffon, "Hey, get out of here quickly. Otherwise you will be killed." "Oh damn little bastard." Tony also saw Lee Buffon, and Lee Buffon also beckoned to him, which is considered to be a beckoning roar. Rod wondered. "Tony, do you know that big boy?" Tony said decisively. "How could I know that unreasonable, extremely annoying little bastard?" Rod nodded. "That's acquaintance. Who is he?" "I'll introduce you to you later." Tony rose up into the sky and yelled at Lee Buffon at the same time, "Little bastard, I'll tell you one last time, don't follow it again, or you will really die." Whoosh. Tony flew towards the open, huge amounts of Kennedy Park, followed by the steel soldiers controlled by Vanki, and Rod also flew straight into the sky. Kennedy Park is not far away, only 2 kilometers away. Li Bufan got up, twisted his neck, and said with a chuckle, "Let you play for so long, it's time for me to appear." Whoosh. He suddenly activated, like a crossbow arrow, shot out of the product exhibition scene, flashed around the street, and rushed to Kennedy Park as quickly as possible. Total time used: 1 minute and 56 seconds. In less than 2 minutes, he appeared in Kennedy Park and locked the target in a place near the man-made lake. Tony is in a fierce battle with unmanned steel soldiers, and Rod has always locked on Tony and performed continuous force output on him. Tony spit out, "Damn it, Miss N, you are not a bit annoying now, but you are so annoying. Hasn't Natasha Romanoff changed Rhodes' operating system yet? The work efficiency is really a bit low." Li Bufan has the same idea as Tony. He originally wanted to wait for Natasha Romanoff to finish it by himself, but he didn't expect. It was too slow. In that case, I'll do it myself. Li Bufan clicked the corner of his mouth and suddenly appeared in front of Tony and Rod. "Oh, God." Luo was shocked and stunned. Roar said, "Tony, I think you need to introduce this little guy to me now. What kind of ability does he have? How can he keep up with us?" "Damn it." Tony was also taken aback for a moment, and muttered, "You lingering little guy, you have a bit of skill. Am I mumbling about you?" Li Bufan said, "Hey Tony, can't your mouth be so stinky?" Next moment, Li Bufan suddenly used his force, like a cannonball, and shot straight towards Rod. Rod's face was dumbfounded. Tony, what does he want to do?" Tony didn't have time to answer him, yelling, "Damn bastard, don't be foolish, you will die. Get out of here." The hero is a hero, even though he is extremely annoying, but Li Bufan is dangerous. Tony will still try his best to save it, but this time there is no need for it. Boom. In the loud noise, Rod received a fatal blow in the chest, which was not only the source of power for the steel armor, but also a fatal flaw. Oh. Luo was shocked. In the next moment, an incredible scene appeared. Li Bufan stepped on Luo's chest, and then as if cutting melons and vegetables, he tore off all the steel battlesuit from him. In just 3 seconds, Li Bufan completely dismantled Rod's steel battlesuit. Rod looked dumbfounded. "Nima. What kind of monster is this little guy? Tearing the armor with bare hands. This is too exaggerated." Li Bufan clapped his hands and said, "There is no trouble now." Tony looked at Li Bufan in surprise, and swallowed sharply. There is indeed no trouble. Hell, Lord's steel battlesuit has been completely scrapped. How can the whiplash be controlled? Quite a while. Tony said, "You little guy, it really surprised me. Okay. I take back what I said before, you are fully qualified to enter S.H.I.E.L.D. Little guy, you have gained my approval." Li Bufan rolled his eyes and said silently, "Damn, Tony, I need your approval? What are you kidding? Tony craps. The whole world needs Tony Stark's approval. Go eat shit." Li Bufan's narcissism towards Tony is completely speechless. Without Rod's restraint, Tony's firepower was fully on, and the infrared laser knife cut through the steel soldiers like melons and vegetables. Amidst the roar, they quickly solved all the remaining steel soldiers. But before there was time to celebrate, a heavier roar suddenly came from the sky, and a gray-white steel monster descended from the sky. Boom. The whip fell heavily on the ground, and there was a huge amounts of hole in the place 10 meters in front of Li Bufan. Sizzle. At this moment, the whip is completely armored, and the biggest difference between his suit and the Iron Man battlesuit is that there are 2 energy whips connected to his wrist, which are more powerful than before, enough to cut a metal staircase, or even cut one army. Click. The armored helmet was removed, revealing a rough face with a toothpick in his mouth, definitely the whip of Ivan Vanki. "Welcome back," he first called Roar at Tony. There is a reason for this sentence. Previously, Tony was depressed because of palladium poisoning. Through the videotape left by his father, Tony created a new element and solved the palladium poisoning, which then re-emerged. "As for you." The lashing eyes flashed anger, staring at Li Bufan, and said, "You don't know what you did. Although I don't know where you came from, you will be for you. What he did has paid a heavy price. Unlike other villains, without a basket of nonsense, if you have tried Roar, you have to do it. 2 energy whips, shining with terrifying electric lights. It's like a controllable lightning. Oh, Tony exclaimed, and said to Li Bufan, "Little guy, do you want to show us the shredded armor again? I must remind you that this big guy is not easy to tear, his manufacturing materials and those trash fish different." "No, I decided to change the game. Li Bufan smiled. Oh please. Now is not the time to make a joke, what can you do? Tony shrugged his shoulders. Li Bufan hooked the corner of his mouth, and his hands quickly formed a seal. Odin had work hard. A small fireball ejected from Li Bufan's mouth and landed at the feet of the whip. That's it. Tony's eyes widened. The whip was also extremely speechless, looking at Li Bufan like a joke, and shook his head. Little guy. Huh. Without waiting for him to speak, the next moment, with the whip as the center, a flame suddenly soared, and it spread around at a very fast speed. Ah. The whip sent a stern part. This guy just greeted roar with Tony and Li Bufan. He took off his helmet, but before he could close it, the flames in the sky immediately surrounded him, and the body in the armor was quickly scorched. My God. Rod's eyes widened in disbelief. Damn it. Tony looked at Li Bufan dumbfounded. This sudden raging flame almost burned them all. This kind of oolong will naturally not appear. These flames are all controlled by chakra, and Li Bufan can control the attack range of Odin as he wishes. God. Tony's surprised roar. Who the hell are you? What was that just now? Magic. Are you a magician? Or a legendary magician? Hell, how can a magician exist in this world? Before Doctor Strange joined the Avengers Alliance, no one believed that magic really existed on the Earth. Not to mention Tony, even Doctor Strange himself, after his hands were abolished, he went to Nepal to find a way to heal his hands. When he saw Ancient One magician for the first time, he absolutely didn't believe what magician Ancient One was. For Doctor Strange and Tony, magic, this has completely subverted their existing worldview. Not magic. What is that? Tony asked shockedly. Li Bufan smiled and didn't explain much. He just pointed to the Iron Soldier on the ground who had been taken apart by Tony, and said, Tony, I think you are focusing on the wrong thing now. The chests of those steel soldiers began to flash red, which meant that these steel soldiers were about to explode. Damn. Vanky this bastard. Tony's face changed drastically, and he cursed fiercely. He immediately picked up Rod and rose to the sky. At the same time, Li Bufan, who was still rushing to the ground, said, Little guy, you should be fine, right? Leave me alone. Li Bufan casually said, Tony has a lot of trouble. At the gate of Hanmer Industry, in front of Little Pepper, there is also a steel soldier who was destroyed by Natasha Romanoff. A few minutes later, Li Bufan appeared in a coffee shop. System. Beep, congratulations to the host. After completing the side quests of the plot, you will get Flight Profound Truth, and a kind of ninjutsu. The relevant rewards have been distributed to the red envelope space and can be checked by yourself. Li Bufan immediately checked the Flight Profound meaning. Item. Flight Profound meaning, attributes, special item skills. World. Supreme Law, quality, a level high. Special effects. Once you master the Flight Profound meaning, you will get flight ability. Flight? This ability is pretty good. Li Bufan nodded and quickly browsed through the entire cheatbook. 2 minutes, the browsing is over. It was as if the electric current hit the whole body. A huge flood of information entered Li Bufan's mind, and at the same time he felt that his body seemed to have undergone subtle changes. Li Bufan was taken aback for a moment. What's going on? Your body seems to be strengthened again. He reread all the information in Flight Profound meaning, and quickly understood it. Flight Mystery, the top spell in the Supreme Law world. Yes, this Supreme Law is the Magician world. The Flight Mystery mastered by Li Bufan has a top speed comparable to that of Iron Man, and the flight height can rush into the atmosphere. Without the corresponding physical fitness, how could it be possible to fly so fast and so high? As the most top-level magic in the Magician world, it is impossible to have such a flaw. Body strengthening is also a part of this top-level spell. The fundamental reason why this spell can become the top-level existence in the Magician world is instant. No spells are needed. Once the practice is successful, flight will become the magician's natural magical powers. Putting it in this world basically means that Li Bufan suddenly awakening flight's super ability. This reward is unexpectedly powerful, but as expected by Li Bufan, this isn't a high-level reward. Let's see what ninjutsu is rewarded. Li Bufan's thoughts swept through the red envelope space. Item. Duplication of multiple shadows. Attributes. Special item skills. Quality. A level high world. Naruto special effects. As you know, it's hard to guard against, win by number. Damn. This thing. Li Bufan felt a deep malice. The technique of multiple shadow duplication. a level ninjutsu, was developed by the second-generation Naruto senjutsu. The biggest difference between this ninjutsu and ordinary duplication is that the caster can use his own chakra to create a physical duplication, and act and fight like the caster's body, with a sense of being independent of the caster's body and a certain amount of anti-attack ability. The technique of multiple shadow duplication can be applied to various ninjutsu. After the normal release, the memory and experience of duplication will return to the main body. The number of duplications in shadow duplication is very small, just 2 or 3. But the technique of multiple shadow duplications is different. This A-level ninjutsu can create dozens or even hundreds of shadow duplications. Take Naruto Uzumaki, the son of destiny. Whether it's training or against the enemy, it depends on oneself. It is human strength, and Naruto Uzumaki can conjure hundreds of duplications each time. But if ordinary people do this, they are looking for death. Because the chakra of each duplication will be very small due to the huge number of chakras, fatigue will also be superimposed on the body, which will seriously threaten the life of the operator. Therefore, the second generation of Hokage classified this operation as a forbidden operation. Even at the level of 55 Kai, I dare not use multiple shadow duplication, let alone Li Bufan. It's also a level ninjutsu, don't do it in vain. Learn now. Li Bufan's thoughts flashed, and he quickly browsed the technique of multiple shadow duplication, and secretly said, "My chakra is too small, and multiple shadow duplication can't be used. You can get 2 duplications, and it's still easy. This is also a blessing in misfortune." The basis of multiple shadow duplication is the art of shadow duplication. This reward is equal to 2, rewarding 1 A-level ninjutsu and an extra B-level ninjutsu as a gift. Soon, Li Bufan completed his training and has fully grasped the profound meaning of multiple shadow duplication. Li Bufan secretly said, "Multi-shadow duplication, this ninjutsu is a bit interesting, but it's a pity that you can't use it after learning. System. What level of reward is Chakra God Tree?" "That's right. Don't you just need chakras, get the sacred tree directly. How many chakras do you want?" The system machine replied. "The host has no permission." Pete. With damn authority again, Li Bufan shook his head, and continued. "Then let me ask another question. What level of rewards are the 9 big-tailed beasts?" System. Report host, S-level advanced. That's it. The sacred tree is the true face of the 10-tailed beast, and the 9 big-tailed beasts are all differentiated from the sacred tree. Since the 9 big-tailed beasts are S-level higher, it indirectly shows that the sacred tree is at least SSS level, even semi-god, or god class. Definitely, it is absolutely impossible to be the ancestor level. Marvel is a multi-universe civilization, and Naruto is just a civilization of a planet. Maybe it can't reach the god level. When he got the information he wanted, Li Bufan nodded in satisfaction, and said secretly, "It seems that it is time to raise the level of the red envelopes. Director Marinated, I will give you a big surprise soon." After drinking the coffee, Li Bufan walked out of the coffee shop and came to a small alley next to him. "Come on. Try the new ability." Li Bufan smiled slightly, his mind moved, his feet slowly left the ground, and the whole body soared, getting higher and higher. When he was 20 meters above the ground, he stopped still. Overlooking the ground. This new ability is cool. Since ancient times, flying has been the dream of mankind. Later, mankind finally realized it, but it only relied on the flight machine to realize it indirectly, just like Iron Man, but also relied on that set of steel armor, which is like Li Bufan. Go home. Li Bufan blew his whistle happily, like a rocket launching, and with a squeak, it flew across the Brooklyn sky and flew towards Queens. Soon, he flew to his own community. Outside the cold drink shop on the street, an 8-year-old kid was eating ice cream. He raised his head by accident, his eyes widened suddenly, and the ice cream on his face dropped out of his hands. Mom. Someone is flying in the sky, Superman. This is the Marvel world. There is no Marvel Comics, but DC Comics. In the DC world, the omnipotent Krypton Superman has countless fans. Whoosh. When the little boy was still shocking roar, Li Bufan had already fallen to the ground and came to the little guy's side and caught the ice cream that fell. The little boy was stunned. At this time, the little boy's mother also came out and looked at the little boy suspiciously. "Tom, what did you say?" "I'll give you ice cream, don't drop the little one." Li Bufan stuffed the ice cream into the stunned little boy. The little boy's mother hurriedly said, "Thank you." "You're welcome." Li Bufan blinked at the little boy, turned around and walked into his neighborhood. Only then did the little boy react. Where he could care about ice cream, He took his mother's arm and exclaimed excitedly, "Superman! Superman! Mom, he was flying in the sky just now. Really, I didn't lie." The little boy's mother said with a serious face, "Tom, when you lie, you always say that I didn't lie." "Really, mother? It's definitely true this time. Also, go back with me and let your father teach you." "Ah, he really can fly, mother." The little boy yelled helplessly. It's a pity that no one would believe him. Happy weekends always pass quickly, and it comes to Monday in a blink of an eye. Lee Buffon attends classes normally, amused with Peter Parker and Yawen the little fat man. After school, Peter Parker becomes his hero next door, while Lee Buffon returns to the love nest and has a happy little life with his wife. That night, 11 o'clock. Lee Buffon and Wanda fought for a full 2 hours, and they flew to the sky. After the body was strengthened, the ability in that area was strengthened at the same time. Lee Buffon felt that even if he fought for another 2 hours, there would be no problem at all. Besides, I really enjoyed it, but Wanda couldn't stand it, and almost kicked him out of bed, taking advantage of him to go out to drink water. Boom. With a muffled sound, Wanda closed the door and locked the door from the inside. Lee Buffon was speechless. "Hey, daughter-in-law, don't you need to do this?" Inside, Wanda said in an angry voice, "God, you are a hungry wolf whose head is never fed. Bad guy, is your body made of iron? You can find a few more women, anyway, I can't take it anymore." Lee Buffon smiled and said, "Really? Do you dare? HMPH, you can do whatever you want, but you are not allowed to let me know, you are not allowed to bring it back, and it is impossible to enter my Lee mansion." "No, my daughter-in-law, you have watched a lot of costume dramas, don't you pay back to Lee mansion?" "It's Lee mansion, I'm Lee mansion." Jengong. Yes, Jengong Nyanganang. "You have to go to work tomorrow, no time to accompany you, tonight you sleep in the original room. You are driving me into the cold palace, ha ha ha." Amidst the flirtatious laughter, Wanda happily entered her dream. Since having Lee Buffon, her sleep quality has improved significantly and she has become much more stable. Even Wanda doesn't understand this point. Obviously, this little man doesn't have any special abilities, just an ordinary high school student, but with him, Wanda feels an unprecedented sense of security, and his mentality is unprecedented. Outside, Lee Buffon drank the water and didn't immediately return to his room. Instead, he nestled on the sofa in the living room and used his phone for half an hour. Time came to 11:30. Suddenly, his spirit shook suddenly, a powerful mental consciousness was invading his brain, and the absolute guardian of the mind was activated instantly, immediately blocking the mental consciousness from the brain. Lee Buffon's face was cold, and he said in a cold voice, "Mind control? Is this Professor X or Phoenix?" Beep. Congratulations to the host. Trigger the storyline. Open the special task red envelope. Defeat the X-Men group of 4. If the mission is successful, corresponding rewards will be issued. Oh, it seems that X-Men came to the door. Lee Buffon has already figured out the characteristics of the red envelope system. This is not only a real-time extraction system, but also a portable smart housekeeper. Whether it is a released task or a task reward, it perfectly fits Lee Buffon's needs. Lee Buffon's face sank, a little angry. First Magneto, then Professor X. What is going on with these mutants? If you don't trouble them, they should burn the incense, but they do it well, angering themselves one after another, and now they are coming to the door even more. It's nothing more than going to the door. Without saying a word, I tried to enter my mind and read my thoughts. This behavior is extremely rude and excessive. Boom, boom, boom. There was a knock on the door, and a gentle voice came in. "Mr. Lee, we have no intention of offending, but there is something we want to talk to you. Would you please open the door?" Coming. Very good. With a hint of coldness at the corner of Lee Buffon's mouth, he opened the door blankly, and 2 men and 2 women appeared in front of him. 2 men. A man with glasses and gentleman, but once this guy activates super ability, his body will be covered with blue hair. He is Beast, Hank McCoy, and the power and IQ in X-Men are both responsible. The other is wearing red quartz stone glasses with an opening and closing device, which is Cyclops Kurt. 2 women. The one on the left is full of silver hair, dancing without wind, tight-fitting leather clothes, silver cloak, devil-like bumpy figure, delicate skin is quite shiny, all over his body exudes a strange temperament, what a black pearl. It is Storm Orlo. The other is a typical white beauty. The explosion of her figure is comparable to Storm. Her natural red hair adds a charm to her, but Phoenix Jean Grey, who just failed the invasion, made her gasp. His white forehead was covered with dense drops of sweat. Li Bufan looked at Qin Gray and said lightly, "You'd better be careful in the future. When you don't even know the strength of your opponent, it's best not to use super ability casually." Oh, Moore. It is very impolite to try to get into other people's brains and read other people's thoughts without their permission. Phoenix looked at Li Bufan in shock, and said, "What ability do you have? Why?" "What ability do I have? Why should I tell you?" Li Bufan asked with a sneer. Oops. Beast Hank and Storm Allura were shocked. As long as a person with a slight temper, I am afraid that they will not be able to accept Phoenix's behavior, let alone the man in front of him, not only has a temper, but he is more capable. Beast helped his glasses and immediately said, "Mr. Li, we are indeed reckless in this matter. I apologize to you on behalf of Qin." Li Bufan sneered. "I haven't finished speaking yet. Her behavior is very impolite. Is your behavior very polite?" The X-Men quartet looked dumbfounded. "What did we do? You came to visit without permission. Do you still feel reasonable?" "Ah." The group of four is still dumbfounded. "Is this impolite? According to your statement, as long as we don't get your permission, we can't come to your house or even contact you. We just came to talk to you and didn't do anything. You are too domineering, right?" Moment. The faces of Storm, Cyclops, and Phoenix all turned cold. Beast, who is in charge of IQ, has a good temper. He hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Mr. Li, don't be angry. We are here to look for you this time. There is no malice. Are you not our compatriot?" "Compatriots?" Li Bufan pointed to himself with a weird expression. "You mean I am mutant?" Beast said, "Isn't it? Professor X has already sensed it. Not long ago, your mutant gene worked, and you gained Flight's super ability." With that said, Li Bufan somewhat understood. There is a strict distinction between Marvel movie universe, mutant and Superman. Mutant has an innate variant gene and does not gain super ability, just because the variant gene lurking in the body does not have awakening, and superpowers are different. Tech fanatics like Iron Man must have nothing to do with mutant Mao. The most similar should be Spider-Man, Hulk, and Fantastic Four, but they are all mutated, not congenital. Li Bufan is different. The Flight profound truth he obtained from the world of supreme law completely transformed his cells, including genetic changes. It is not a mutant, but it is slightly different from Spider-Man's way of obtaining super ability.